And welcome to Catachrist Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.catachrist.com. My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and we're speaking with Rik Fox today for the Rik Fox Story. Good to be talking to you, Rik. This is part 3 of the Rik Fox Story, as I just said. And today we're going to start off where we left off. When we left off in part 2, we were talking about the point in the story where you just walk into the studio and you realize that Dana Strum has given your song On the Run to Vinnie Vincent to hear. So let's pick it up from there.
All right. I'm trying to remember where we left off.
We left off where you walk in the studio and Vinnie said something to you along the lines of, I think I've seen you or I met you before. And
right.
And you were somewhere in some recording studio in Los Angeles when Kiss was recording, I think, Creatures of the Night.
No, actually what happened was I walked into S.I.R. studios, rehearsal studios.
Okay.
And I heard some Kiss licks, guitar licks, coming from the same room that we used to rehearse in, same room Motley Crue used to use.
Yeah.
So I walked over to there and I opened the door. There's like it's 2 doors. It's like this tight little vestibule. It's just sound doors. So I walk in the door and I open up the next door. And there's this guy standing there in Ace Frehley's Lightning boots.
Oh, wow, wow.
Like the original Lightning boots.
Yeah.
And he's got a Marshall stack behind him, and he's playing Kiss licks. It sounds like almost like Frehley.
Yeah.
And he looks up and he says, "Oh, hi." And I looked at him and, "Oh, hi. Sorry, I walked in by accident.
Yeah.
Wrong room," like that. And I backed. That was it. It took no more than 15 seconds.
Oh, wow.
20 seconds.
Wow.
So that was my first time seeing Vinnie Vincent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and minus the wig and all of that.
Yeah.
And then, Management 3 and Todd Cooper says that he can put us in the studio and we can do some album master demos. And those are like pretty much like almost a finished product.
Yeah.
Before you go to an album with it, like that kind of high quality. So we're at Kendon Studios in Burbank. And Dana Strum is producing, and Todd's brother, I forgot his name, and he's engineering. It was like the whole Cooper family was involved.
Yeah.
Todd's father was like a high-power entertainment attorney.
Oh, wow.
Like that. So, and then Todd worked out of an office in Jerry Weintraub's Management 3 office in Beverly Hills. So we had all of that kind of on our side. And then as an unsigned band, that was a leap of faith for them, too. So anyway, we're in the studio, we're recording, and of course, by this point, Dana Strum had me do all the dirty work and letting Frank Starr and Mark Anthony, our drummer, Mark Benkachea, let them go.
Wow.
And like that. So we were doing the tracks with Jay and Richie, the guitar players, and I'd come in and do my bass tracks like that. We didn't even do it that much to a drum track. I forget exactly what process this was, but it wasn't like your traditional process with bass and drums first.
Oh, wow.
We kind of started in the middle and worked our way out from on either side, like that. So I walk into the studio one night, and there's Vinnie Vincent sitting at the mixing board, and
wow.
And Dana's sitting there or standing there, and I walk in, and Vinnie goes, "Oh, hi." And he goes, you look familiar.
Yeah, that's where we left off.
And then I related to him the story about what I just told you about walking into S.I.R. and seeing him in the Aces booth. He goes, "That's where you look familiar from."
Wow.
Like that.
Even he remembered seeing you. That's amazing.
Yeah. And they're listening to a mix of the song I wrote, On the Run.
Yeah.
And then he goes, yeah, Vinnie really likes your song, man. Hey, he really, really likes your song. And Vinnie's like, yeah, maybe we can like re-record it someday and like have you involved or something like that, And
Yeah.
we never defined what have you involved meant.
Yeah.
And I got to say, when I walked in, opened the door, walked in. At first, the look on both of their faces was like the oh crap moment, like being caught with the other woman. Kind of, they were shocked or surprised, I should say, that you didn't expect me to walk in like when I did.
Now, here's a question for you, Rik. Now, do you think this was totally a thing like that Dana was behind, as far as like Vinnie didn't really know what was going on, or do you think he was as much in on it as Dana?
Well, Vinnie Vinnie already had a track record for helping himself to other people's material.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't know that until later.
Yeah. Because interesting thing.
He was involved with Hirsch Gardner from the band New England.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that story.
Hirsch, those guys are friends of mine, and they had a group together called Warrior.
Yeah, and Jimmy Walter.
They recorded a whole bunch of demos and stuff, and then Vinnie took off, and then he took off with the material.
Oh wow, yeah.
So there was that famous story of the Vinnie Vincent Invasion on tour, opening for Iron Maiden.
Yes,
and, and they had all that pink gear. Everything was pink.
Yeah.
They didn't say Vinnie Vince VVI on it. It was pink.
Yeah.
When they passed through the New England area, I forget. I think it might have been Massachusetts or somewhere where the band was from. They had cops and an injunction waiting for them.
Oh wow, yeah, I've heard that story. And like you talking about the pink and Vinnie Vincent Invasion, how that stuff used to be labeled, the gear and stuff. I mean, there's no mistaking it for Iron Maiden gear,
Yeah. And Hirsch had a lawsuit, a lien against him, and he won.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
So anything that said BVI on it was immediately confiscated. They scrambled to hide the guitars. They were about half hour, 45 minutes from opening, showtime.
Oh wow.
And they had to scramble to some music store just to borrow or rent some gear real quick just so they could do the show.
Yeah. I've heard that story. Wow.
Oh yeah. So Vinnie has already had a track record of helping himself to other people's material.
Yeah.
Why, I don't know. I mean, if he's an accomplished writer, I don't know why he's going to walk around with trying to grab somebody else's material. I
mean, the stuff he writes is pretty good. Like you said, I don't know why he'd have to do that. Now here's the other question. Do you think, in regards to that, because of course they renamed the song, they reworked the song and named it "Let Freedom Rock." I mean, do you really think Vinnie kind of thinks, oh, that's not the same song, or do you think he's pretty in on it too?
I'm convinced they were both in on it. Dana was the mastermind, and he showed it to Vinnie. And otherwise, how would Vinnie be so interested in that song if Dana didn't introduce? Why was Vinnie sitting there listening to our stuff to begin with? You know?
Yeah. And here's the thing too. I can tell you an interesting story. A number of years back, I had the opportunity to interview Robert Fleischman, the original singer for the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, and he was telling me that he said he never cared much personally, Robert, for Dana Strum. He said, like, when the Vinnie Vincent Invasion was first getting off the ground, Dana had Vinnie convinced that he was like his right-hand man, and he always had his back and stuff, and he said Vinnie foolishly believed that for a while, and then eventually Vinnie saw, like everyone else, Dana was pretty much just in it for himself, and he says, they stole the record company and everything right out from under him, but that's the kind of, even Robert Fleischman was telling me that's the kind of a guy Dana is. Yeah. Well,
like I said, our material already had Mark Slaughter singing all the the tracking vocals.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and that's where Mark was even their singer, and Dana had been trying to get Vinnie to hire him as the singer from the get-go.
Right. So all the degrees of separation were already attached long before they got to the press. So that nothing was ever really discussed about anything further about the song, to my recollection.
Yeah.
So my publicist was the same publicist for Vinnie.
Okay.
And she got me a copy of the advanced copy of the demo of the album.
Yeah.
And she goes, "You're not going to be happy when you hear this." And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah,
You're not going to be pleased. And she points out the song "Let Freedom Rock."
Wow.
She goes, "You better hear this." So I put it on, and the first three opening chords are the same three opening chords for my song "Break Down the Walls That Stop the Rock," which was another song that on our S.I.N demo that Dana produced.
Wow. Yeah.
And then after those first three chords, it goes right into the hook from "On the Run."
Yeah.
I mean, there's no bones about it. It's da 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 da. You can't mistake it. It's just that kind of riff,
Yeah, and no doubt about it's thievery, but at least if they had at least halfway decency, at least crediting you with the songwriting, But again, either way you look at it, it's thievery, and it just kind of makes you wonder. So he had the song that far back. Why was it on the first album, Vinnie Vincent album? Why did they wait to put it on the second album? Maybe they thought you'd forget about it or not realize.
No. At the end of the hook,
Yeah.
it resolves to like A E A like that, and what they did was they put a little kind of a tag at the end of it. It goes da 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 da.
Wow.
At the end of the hook. So
Yeah.
like trying to make it a little different.
Yeah.
So it's not completely note for note. I mean, it was note for note until they put that little tag at the end of it.
Yeah, and what's interesting about "On the Run," that's a great song, and that probably is fact that so many people love that song, but why they would want to steal. But then kind of makes you wonder, okay, if they thought so much of that song, why wasn't that released like as the first single off the album, or one of the singles at all? Just why even steal it then? If you're not going to try to have a big hit with it.
I think the plan was for Dana to get us signed to Chrysalis because they were with Chrysalis.
Yeah.
And Dana I think he was like data mining a lot of bands because he worked with a lot of bands. There was a whole, the whole bunch of us. Burn, he was working concurrently. S.I.N, Burn, Sweet Savage, and there was, I think, a couple other bands. So it was like this whole little stable of bands that Dana was working with.
Yeah, wow, that's
kind of rolling the producer's dice.
And like you said,
get all the hats he could wear and collect all the fees for all the different hats he was wearing.
Yeah, and like you said, Dana is one of those guys at that time where, he had nowhere near the fan base he has now. I mean, he was just known as the guy that got Jakey Lee and Randy and Ozzy's band for years, and he was producing all these bands, like you said, kind of. But that's mostly how he was trying to get his name at the time, So
you said he's got a fan base, really?
Well, in the sense, that okay, he's a smart guy in the sense that he had Vinnie convinced that he was his right hand man, like I saying Robert said, and then if you notice when they moved over to Slaughter, okay, Dana once again he's got Mark Slaughter convinced, hey man, I'm your right hand man, and they produced all those albums, they wrote all the songs together. So again, business wise, I'm talking about he gets all these royalties probably from all those albums because even if you look at that first Slaughter album, it was a massive hit.
Well, from what I understand,
yeah,
Vinnie was just becoming way unstable to work with. It was just they couldn't do anything with him. It was just too meticulous and like nuts about how he was recording. And essentially, he got canned from his own band. Label, from Chrysalis.
From his own band,
they gave Mark Slaughter the deal. They said, okay, we're taking it from Vinnie. It's now yours.
Yeah, in fact, that's why if you look at the second Vinnie Vincent album, which this track was kind of showed up on, that's the very first album, the only album Mark Slaughter appears on. But when you buy the album, it's the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. And I remember that album had a little sticker. It didn't say featuring Vinnie Vincent, it said featuring Mark Slaughter, and apparently that pissed the hell out of Vinnie.
I guess, yeah. I after a while I stopped following them.
No, I'm just saying, yeah.
So I'm now in possession of this tape, and I'm pretty good friends with the Cinderella drummer Fred Corey.
Yeah, you're.
And Fred was just exiting the band London at the time. He played with London with Nader and those guys.
Oh, okay.
And he said, Lisa, I'd like to be in a band with you. I'd like to be your drummer in S.I.N.
Okay. And
I said, okay, we can work on that. It'd be great, And then he left. He was going to leave town or something, and then come back or whatever. And he came over to my apartment. I remember that in Hollywood. And I said, hey, you remember my song On the Run? He goes, oh yeah, it's my favorite song. I love that song.
Wow.
I said, I want you to hear something. And I played him a little bit at the beginning of On the Run. He goes, right, I remember this. I said, okay, now listen. And I took the tape out and I put the VVI tape in. He doesn't know what I'm putting in there.
Yeah.
I said, listen to this. And he listens to the intro to Let Freedom Rock. He goes, oh, what'd you do? Did you remake it? It's like a different arrangement?
Wow. Yeah, even he heard it. Yeah.
I mean, he was more than just familiar. He loved that song.
Yeah.
And he's going, wow. He goes, what did you do? You changed it?
Yeah.
And then I held it up and he could read it. It said Vinnie Vincent Invasion.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, dude, you just got taken into cleaners.
Yeah.
He goes, that's effed up. Oh, man.
I mean, like I said, any way you slice it, Rick, it's thievery, but, it would have been that much worse. Just think if they would have not only stolen your song, but had a massive hit with it, and we're getting all these royalty checks now because of it. So, at least they didn't get much out of it, you know.
Yeah, well, they re-recorded it, but I wasn't involved like they said I would.
Yeah, wow.
You know, so I bumped into Mark Slaughter and Bobby Rock both together at the same time at a NAMM show, and the NAMM show in Anaheim, and I held up the tape. I said, "Do either of you guys want to talk to me about this?" and they both get that shit look.
Yeah.
And they said, "Listen, man, it was all Dana. It was all Dana and Vinnie. We had nothing to do with this."
Yeah.
I said, "Mark, you knew what you were doing. You sang on the run on our tape in the studio.
Yeah.
You knew what you were singing over."
Yeah.
And he just was like, they were both backpedaling, saying, I'm sorry. It was all Dana, and he was controlling everything, and he said, just play this.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, when we were recording it, there's Dana in the studio going, "So Foxbar, tell me all about this song. I mean, what's the lyrics about?" And I said, "Well, it's about an angry biker trying to escape." I said, "I was extremely pissed off when I wrote the song."
Yeah.
And it all came out in the lyrics and the arrangement. He goes, "Foxbar, you're going to get the Nobel Peace Prize in songwriting. We got to keep Fox pissed off because he writes good songs."
Wow. What a.
So there was that little anecdote, about Dana trying to compliment me.
Now, tell the story. You were telling me, when this all came to a head, you actually confronted Dana, and he got kind of a little testy with you. And you want to tell about that now?
I'm sorry, say it again?
You were telling me before, but you actually had confronted Dana about, stealing this song, and he started making threats to you like, "Oh man, you won't even mess with me." Yeah.
Once I had found out, I called up Chrysalis Records, and I let him have it, over the phone.
Yeah.
I said, "You motherfuckers,
Yeah. This
guy stole my song." I said, "Dana Strum produced us, and he takes my song and gives it to Vinnie, and Vinnie ripped it up, and I.
Yeah.
They're both the same song, and they got like really nervous.
Yeah.
And when we hung up, I don't know, it was within 10 minutes, Dana Strum called me.
Oh, wow. I would have loved to heard that.
They called Dana, and they said, "You better call this guy up because he's going to sue us."
Wow.
And Dana's like, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." Dana calls me up. He says, "Listen, Foxmeyer, you can't copyright a hook, all right? Because if you try to take us to court, we'll bleed you dry, and then we'll countersue you for being an asshole."
Yeah.
Then he goes, I talked to Carmine Appice about this, and he says, "Give him $1,000, tell him shut the fuck up." And I'm like, "Why are you talking about our business to Carmine Appice?"
He probably didn't even do it. I mean, he probably just full of shit. I doubt very much he talked to Carmine about something like that. Who knows, though?
Well, I mean, that's what Dana said.
Yeah, wow.
He said, you can't copyright a hook? I said, "Tell that to George Harrison, who got sued from My Sweet Lord because he ripped the chiffons as He's So Fine."
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine if you'd done that to one of his Slaughter songs? I mean, it was a big major hit. I mean, would he be saying that? I don't think so. But wow. And now what I want to get to, Rik, is also within the last few days we were prepping to do this tonight. You discovered, in fact, this one song, "On the Run," gets so much attention that you just discovered somebody posted this thing labeling it as Chris Holmes' Firebird demo. You want to talk a little bit about that?
All right, I just found that out by accident.
Wow.
I was looking for a copy to send to you.
Yeah.
You can listen to. Besides my Reverb Nation page, and I'm scrolling down through YouTube, and I see and somebody has uploaded the original version of "On the Run" the first LA lineup, one with the keyboards.
Yeah.
And then they had it with some lame video of people skiing down mountains.
Wow. I mean, people are...
It has absolutely nothing to do with the lyrics.
Yeah.
They just thought it was cool, and they put my song to some video of people skiing down mountains, in a high-speed skiing.
Yeah.
And then they must have... I don't know if they took it down, and they've got the second version, the one that Dana produced.
Wow.
And put it back up with that skiing video, and now it says Art Derish and Vince, the names of the guys from the first lineup, and it says remix. So again, they screwed up again.
Wow.
And put the second version with the wrong people's names on it. Nobody does research.
Yeah.
Nobody looks it up. Nobody calls me. Nobody contacts me and reaches out and says, hey, what's the information about this? They just look whatever they can find through the internet, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
And they put it together, and it's just really annoying.
Now, I'll tell you this, Rick.
So
Cool
I'm
thing.
scrolling down.
Yeah.
I'm scrolling, and I see this hand-drawn picture of Chris Holmes sitting on a Firebird.
Yeah.
And it says "On the Run," Chris Holmes. And I'm like the radio mix or something.
Yeah.
I listen to it, and it's the Sin song that the Dana Strum version produced. My Sin song.
Wow.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And if you look at the name of the person who uploaded it, it says TNUC. Now, we know what TNUC spells when you reverse it.
Yeah.
And it's also, TNUC is the name of a Grand Funk Railroad song.
Yeah, very interesting.
And it's also a derogatory British slang word.
Oh wow!
Like the TWAT word.
Oh, okay.
Those and CNUT are common English phrases, like we would use, asshole or something like that.
Yeah. Wow.
So I contacted. I posted it on my Facebook page, and I tagged Chris's managers and his wife, Kathy.
Yeah.
We're friends with. My wife and I are friends with Kathy and Chris.
Oh wow.
And I said, you may want to look into this and tell this guy what for, and this is not a Chris Holmes song. This is my song.
Yeah.
And she got in there and into YouTube and posted a little, some angry words and saying, this is not Chris Holmes. This is an infringement. Take this down.
Wow.
And it's still up so far, but I guess you have to. There's somebody else you have to report it to YouTube to get it taken down. Yeah,
the interesting thing, though, I bring this up because this just came up in the last couple of days as we're getting ready to do this, and it's amazing the response you got when you posted, because some of your fans were posting, I didn't aware of this. I'm going to make a report to YouTube. I thought, that's one thing you could say, good kind of a power of the internet. I mean, when people are able to, do stuff like that, just the fact that they're willing to, I'll see what I can to, make this known that this is a fraud.
When people take the liberty to take somebody's material and upload it to the internet, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But when they do it incorrectly and it's misleading to the public,
that's another thing. Yeah.
And I complain about it. Then they make me the asshole for going. Yeah, I'm doing the guy a favor. I'm putting this song up so everybody can hear it, and he's mad at me. It's not as simple as that.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't be an idiot. If you're going to put my song up, contact me. Ask me if I have pictures that go along with it or something. Slideshow or something.
Yeah.
Don't just put up something else arbitrary that has nothing to do with the song.
Oh, I totally agree.
Like that. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully that version will get taken down.
Yeah.
I would do it myself.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. I can't do it from my cell phone.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what we can do with that. But information. Maybe somebody else knows how to make that happen. But anyways, Rick, there's another song. I think it's on the same Sin demo. There's a song you got called "We Got Your Rock," and we didn't get to this part of the story last time. But you told me over the phone a story about it because I was asking. If you get the first Fraley's Comet album from 1987, Ace does a cover of that song on there. It sounds a little different. His is more of a, it's not quite as hard as your version. But talk a little bit about that.
Heavy.
yeah, yours is much heavier. So talk about how that happened.
All right, We Got Your Rock. We're going to connect some more degrees of separation dots here.
Yeah.
We Got Your Rock was originally written by Marty Coopersmith. And Marty was one of the members of the band Jay and the Americans.
Oh, okay.
Big hit makers in the 60s and 70s. So he wrote it as kind of a follow-up for Joan Jett for the song I Love Rock and Roll.
Oh, I could have seen that. Yeah, okay.
Okay, but I Love Rock and Roll was also not an original. That was a copy song that Joan Jett. I forgot the name of the original band that did that. But okay, so she turned down We Got Your Rock because she felt it sounded a little too much like I Love Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
It's that call and answer anthem kind of song.
Yeah.
So it wound up in the hands of an all-female band in Long Island, New York, called Scarlet Fever.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then when Scarlet Fever started to dissolve, the drummer, Roxanne Harlow, wound up as the drummer for the Long Island, New York band Alien.
Oh, okay, yeah, we were talking about Alien last time.
And she, as the drummer, became an item with the bass player, with Mike Bruno, a.k.a. Damien, a.k.a. The Beast.
Oh, well, okay.
So she introduced it to him, and so Alien started doing it.
Wow.
And I have it on VHS on video of them playing Syosset High School.
Wow.
And they're doing it. And then some things happened with Alien, and the bass player got into some trouble in Florida, and he wound up in jail. He eventually died in jail.
Wow.
Yeah. So right about at that time is when we circle back to me right after a Quiet Riot approaches me.
Oh, wow.
To learn some of their material because they were getting ready to go. This is right when S.I.N is in the recording studio in the winter of '85.
Wow.
And Kevin DeBro calls me up, 3 sheets in the wind, drunk out of his mind, and says he wants me to play on their tour for South America. They said it's what Kevin said. He goes, we fired Rudy, and we want you to come in. You got highly recommended, and we want you to come in and play bass for us on this tour. And I had to meet with Frankie Benelli and Carlos Cavazzo surreptitiously. The whole idea was they wanted to keep this a big secret for whatever reason. Uh-huh. So Warren Ettner, their manager, who was from the band the Grassroots, Warren arranged to hurry up through the State Department to get me a passport. I was meeting with Carlos. We were going over the songs. Mum was the word. I swore up and down I wouldn't say anything to anyone.
Yeah.
I'm woodshitting, learning the songs. There's like 25, 30 songs for this tour. While I'm also recording with S.I.N, with Dana and all that in the studio. Somehow, we don't know how, Dana found out. That's Hollywood.
Wow.
And he said, listen, folks, Mark, don't do it. It's going to be a pain in the ass. They're going to use you. They're going to fire you. And they're going to make a joke out of you. Okay? I'm telling you, don't get involved with Quiet Riot. Wow. All right? So you waste of time. I'm like, how did you find out? He goes, that's Hollywood, man. People talk. I'm like, if I didn't talk,
Yeah.
And I was at Frankie's apartment one day with him. 2 girls showed up at his door. Mm-hmm. They came in. They saw me in there, just standing around. I didn't talk to them. There was in another room. And then they talked to Frankie, and then they left.
Wow.
Next thing you know, it's all over the rainbow. Rik Fox is trying out for Quiet Riot, or he's in Quiet Riot. Frankie was furious.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, the shit hit the fan. He was livid. And he's falsely accusing me of saying so. I said, Frankie, on my hand of God, I'm telling you, I didn't say anything. I said, I got called up at home by Dana Strum telling me, don't get involved. Wow. I have no idea. He wouldn't believe me.
Oh, wow.
Frankie was mad.
Amazing how Dana Strum kind of keeps getting in your way.
Yeah, so Frankie goes, that's it, you're out. You're out of the project.
Wow.
So, that happened. So, where was I going with this?
We're talking about We Got Your Rock. Yeah.
We Got Your Rock. Okay, so, We Got Your Rock wound up in the hands of Alien.
Okay.
So when during all of this was happening with with the breakup of S.I.N, Jay, the guitar player, a.k.a. Rick Christie from Alien, who's actually just Jay Maffey.
Yeah.
Jay calls me up, and he says, "Hey, I heard Kiss is auditioning guitar players. You think it's possible they might get me an audition? Because you know them guys."
Yeah.
I said, first of all, how did you get my number?
Yeah.
He goes, he's back in New York, in Long Island.
Yeah.
I said, second of all, you have an outstanding $400 phone bill you stuck me with when we were roommates.
Wow. Yeah.
You expect me to forget that?
Yeah.
And he's hemming and hawing and trying to apologize. And I said, listen, here's the way that it goes. First of all, Kiss already has a guitar player. This guy named Vinnie Vincent's in the band.
Wow.
Like that. I said, however, my first lineup of S.I.N is kaput.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking to reform. And he says, well, Alien broke up. I said, you want to come out to Los Angeles and reform S.I.N with me?
Yeah.
He says, okay. So The We Got Your Rock story was confirmed by both Roxanne Harlow to me and Donnie B. Fair, who was the original rhythm guitarist in Alien.
Yeah.
I just spoke to Donnie yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And what I just relayed to you, he says, "Yep, that's it. That's a fact. That's how it all happened." So Alien then introduces me to the song "We Got Your Rock."
Oh, okay. Wow.
And we start doing it in the Sin set. Because by the time Alien, three guys from Alien got it to Los Angeles, I didn't have enough material to do a whole set yet.
Yeah.
And we needed something to pad the account, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
And we're sitting around the table, practicing, rehearsing. And I said, "Hey, why don't we just do some Alien material to fill in the space until we can write some new stuff? This way, if you have any Aliens fans on the West Coast, they'll be treated to seeing the Alien material live." And there was no booze to that. They said, "Yeah, okay, let's do that."
Oh, wow.
It made sense. So we did all the songs off the Alien EP, and added with my songs, and we had enough material for a set like that until we started to write more new material. But that's kind of how We Got Your Rock got introduced to us. And when we got in the studio, we were trying to pick which songs out of our set we're going to do, for this demo.
Yeah.
And it was On the Run, Don't Say Goodbye, which was an Alien song.
Yeah.
We Got Your Rock, which was an Alien song, and Break Down the Walls to Stop the Rock, which I wrote with Richie.
Oh, okay.
Richie Pagano. So, like that. And then Dana took what we had and tweaked it to where we sounded more away from the Iron Maiden thing and closer to Judas Priest.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
If you listen carefully to Break Down the Walls and Stop the Rock, that was like my answer to the PMRC. If you listen to the lyrics, again, it's another song about being angry, and it's an anthemic, thing for the kids, like that.
Kind of like I want to rock, or we're not going to take it type thing.
Yeah, it's like I'm reaching to the kids from when I was that age about like the character in all the Twisted Sister videos being suppressed.
Yeah.
Like that, and that kind of anger and breaking out of it, to enjoy your music.
Like kind of anti-establishment, like against the elites, so to speak.
So those were the 4 songs on the demo.
Yeah.
And Dana Break Down the Walls sounds a little bit closer to Screaming for Vengeance.
Yeah.
It's been compared to that. And On the Run, I was even considering selling On the Run or leasing it to Judas Priest, because it would fit perfect with them.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't have any connections for Priest, so... Yeah. And he took We Got Your Rock and made it a lot heavier, and it's so anthemic. It's like an anthem with the call and answer. And it reminds me a little bit of almost like Twisted Sister meets Kiss, like I Love It Loud versus some Twisted Sisters.
If you listen to the Ace version, it's like I said, it's not that it's a pop tune, but it's not quite as heavy as your version, but it does sound like an anthem. It sounds more like maybe what it was intended to be. If you listen to the Ace version.
Right, and then Ace was friends with Ace Frehley's manager, George Sewitt.
Oh, okay.
So either George called Ace or Ace called. George called Dana or Dana called George. Well, we were there in the studio.
Yeah.
And doing the mix of the song.
Yeah.
And Dana goes, "Hey, George, listen to this," and he plays "We Got Your Rock" over the phone.
Yeah, because I forget what song it is, but there's a song on the second Fraley's Comet album that Dana Strum, if you look at the writing credits, is labeled as a writer on. So that kind of makes sense how he's got that connection to Ace, because I never quite understood it from there. But wow.
George Sewitt says, "We got this song called 'We Got Your Rock' that we're doing," and Dana Strum holds the phone up to the speakers. He goes, "George, listen to this." And he plays them. We got our song. We Got Your Rock.
Yeah.
George Sewitt freaked out. He's like, "Where did you get that song from? We're doing that song because then your version's better than ours."
Yeah, it really is.
Because now we got to scramble to get Ace's album out before you guys release your stuff.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, Rick, in doing research for this, I went online, a couple weeks back, and being the Ace Frehley's fan I am, I already knew of his version, but I found your version, I thought, wait a minute, is this the same song? And I had to listen to it again, and I said, yeah, it's just this version's a lot heavier, but it's cool. It's cool in its own way, if you know what I mean. Even though it doesn't sound like the Ace tune, maybe that's why it kicks ass, if you know what I mean. It kind of, you guys really kind of owned that song and made it your own.
Yeah. Well, you know, with the singer that we had on it, Rick Ray, they really punched it up.
Oh yeah, it gives it a real, like you said, Judas Priest kind of major kick in the ass.
Well, it's kind of our version is kind of a real heavy bump and grind, you know.
No doubt.
It's like being in a tank and just crushing over everything in its path.
Yeah.
It kind of has that kind of feel to it.
Yeah, and so now we're pretty much getting to the kind of demise of Sin, and I know the next band was Burn, which we wanted to kind of touch on too, because interesting enough, as you mentioned, I found out Dana Strum is also the producer of Burn. So how do you after this fiasco of your song being stolen by Dana, you didn't have any reservations about being involved with him?
What, with Dana or Burn?
Dana, like when you learned they're working with the same producer, it kind of just screwed you over, you know?
Well, I was furious.
Yeah,
And at this point, we started to experience a little chemistry imbalance in the band, and Jay and Richie were kind of roommates.
Okay.
You know, and then they started some kind of squabble between them two. And then they went to our manager and they go, I don't know, man. After everything we did in the studio, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off live. I don't know if Rick's going to be able to pull this off live. And I'm like,
wow.
What?
Wow.
You know, and the band just kind of dissolved. You know, if you can imagine holding a handful of sand.
Yeah.
And trying to hold on to it, the tighter you hold on to it, the more it slips all through your fingers till it's gone.
See, I mean, even as you sit here and talk about it, I can kind of hear the frustration in your voice as far as like, you know, like you listen to those demos, you know, they still sound very like a real quality demo, and it's like the band came that close to really kind of making it, and even though you didn't have make it in the big way that you should have, I mean, Sin is one of those bands, you know, still being talked about in the sense that you just sent me this photo of his paper saying that Sin was voted LA's #1 drawing metal act for 1984. Talk a little bit about that.
That was a reader's poll in Music Connection magazine.
Wow, that's a pretty big thing, you know.
At the end of '84, they told me it's like a cumulative thing of how consistent your draw is.
And I seen on that list you were over bands like, you know, Stryper and Keel and Odin. So I mean, again, that's pretty amazing, you know.
I think so. I mean, we were pretty elated about that.
Yeah.
You know, because those are higher drawing bands in a broader sense. So
yeah.
But that kind of shows you how fast we were coming up. You know, major contenders.
Yeah.
We had that buzz like Guns N' Roses did.
Yeah, that's the name. That's the word for it, contenders. And it's got to be frustrating that you had all these other kind of quality players, but maybe they just didn't share your vision. I mean, you seem like a lot of the bands you were in that we've talked about so far, but you were kind of the guy with the vision. I mean, even down to being in charge of designing the suits for everybody. And it's sad that these other guys kind of, after spending all this time in the studio, you know, Rick can't do this, and maybe we can't, you know, deliver the goods on stage. I mean, you just these other guys just kind of lose all their faith in everybody. It's sad.
Well, you know, like I said, before, you know, these guys sat around and smoked a lot of pot.
Oh wow, yeah, that'll.
No, pot makes you paranoid. So
yeah.
Who knows? You know, I guess they just lost their confidence. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, they went on. The band split, and then Jay went on with Mark, with a drummer, and with some other guys, and formed a band called BOWA, BOWA, which is supposed to be Band of Wild Angels. Another band with periods in their title.
Okay.
Like Wasp.
Yeah.
And they did, you know, a couple of shows, and they broke up.
Wow.
You know, so it just everybody just kind of dissolved. You know, Frank went on to with the Four Horsemen. And
now Frank has sadly, of course, passed away. I was reading in a motorcycle accident. I mean, share with us, like when you first get that news, that had to kind of just be shocking.
What we were told was, you know, and Frank was working with Randy Castillo, who wound up being the drummer for Ozzy Osbourne before he passed away.
Yeah.
They had a band called Bone Angel, and then he hooked up with Rick Rubin and got put in the Four Horsemen.
Wow.
And I think Frank really found his niche.
Yeah.
You know, he really found what made him really, really happy.
Yeah.
You know, he was a glam guy when he came to L.A. because that's what Alien was doing.
Yeah.
But he's also got biker in his blood. His father was a biker, and it's in the family, and so he kind of actually gravitated more towards, you know, less on the stage makeup presentation and more on the just, you know, the jeans and the scruffy beard and like that. You know. So anyway, and Hollywood was kind of starting to go into that direction. You know, the junkyard kind of bands. You know.
Yeah.
You know, Junkyard's a friend of mine. Or the singer's a friend of mine. Anyway. So I got the word that Frank was in a accident with his bike.
Wow. Yeah.
What I understand, he was on his way down, I think, to the Troubadour or someplace. He was driving down Sunset Boulevard on his bike, and some drunk woman backed up out of a driveway right in front of him.
Oh, wow.
There was no time to stop.
Yeah.
And she was completely DUI. She shouldn't have been behind the wheel to begin with.
Yeah, so sad.
And Frank, even though Frank had his brain bucket on, his helmet, he flew up and over the car, and it was airborne. You know, it came down and pretty hard.
Wow.
So we all of us, as, you know, as friends and you know, like that, we got to the hospital as soon as we possibly were allowed to get in.
Yeah.
And he was busted up. He was in pretty bad shape.
Wow.
And he couldn't communicate. You know, I guess the landing on the head, even with the helmet, was
pretty hard. Did damage.
Did a lot. He was like a vegetable. Did a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And he got moved from one hospital to another hospital. He was down in, I want to say, down to 405 for people who live in L.A. Not Huntington Beach. I forget where it was. It was a big hospital, and he got moved down there.
Wow.
And, you know, me and Jay and Richie would go see him. You know, we'd go visit him in the hospital, cheer him up. We'd play him Sin songs like that, you know, Alien stuff. And we brought him pictures of him on stage, you know, with us. And we put him up on the walls with all the other drawings and things that people would put up so he could look at.
Oh, wow.
And you could see in his eyes he was trying to communicate, but he couldn't.
Yeah, oh, wow.
You know, like that. And then, you know, we'd visit, and then we'd leave, and we'd come back like a month later, and all the stuff that we brought to him, all the sin-related stuff, was all pulled off the walls and gone.
Oh, wow.
The other stuff was still there. So somebody was going there and tearing our stuff down.
Oh, how pathetic, you know? Wow.
Yeah. And then it just, you know, we just visited him whenever we could, and the next thing we know, we heard he passed away.
Wow, yeah, awful. And in regards to that, you know, it seems like an obvious question, but is that part of the reason? Like, there was never any kind of Sin reunion? I imagine it'd be kind of hard for you to put that back together without him.
Oh, it would be like impossible.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, he was the front man. He was the guy up front. You know.
Yeah, and
he was the focal point to communicate with the audience.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, very very much like you know the thought of somebody going in and replacing, let's say, Eddie Van Halen. That's just something you would not do. You know.
It would, you know, it would be tough for anybody to try and fill Frank's shoes.
Yeah. And,
like that, but you know, I was one of the pallbearers at his funeral.
Oh, wow.
Me and a bunch of the guys, the security guys from Ricky Rackman's Cat House.
Oh, wow.
You know, Mike Miller and all those guys. We were all Todd Cooper's other brother, Keith, who was an attorney. We're all part of that clique. So
yeah,
we were all pallbearers for Frank. I think he's buried like in Chatsworth, I think, near Simi Valley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And now, Rick, I've seen you post these Sin demos online, and there's been talk that you may or may not one day release it as a CD. Where are you with that?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, I've always had the intention of putting some kind of catalog together, at least the stuff that I've done. Yeah. And put it together, which would include, there was a demo we did, not like a demo, but I got a Steeler royalty check one time, and I took the whole band into a studio down in somewhere near Culver City.
Oh, okay.
And we just recorded our set live, straight through, beginning to end.
Wow, that would be something to have.
Just, you know, for posterity, in case we want to do something with it. And we didn't really have time to do any heavy mixing. It was just plug in the board, through the board and play dry. Yeah. So I would like to get that, you know, released, but I'd also need it to be tweaked a little bit, you know, and beef up the bass a little bit so you can hear it more. Yeah, you know, that'd be thing for kind of the fans, and I think the cool thing about if and when the time is ready to do that, if you're able to release it kind of independently on your own,
not only do you once again kind of get to have your vision of how it should be done, but it'll be released the right way, and the money will go where it should, back into your pockets and whoever else was involved in those recordings.
Yeah, I'm thinking. You've probably seen some of the posts on my page on Facebook.
Yeah.
That the Jaguar album has been re-released.
Yeah, I've seen that. Very nice. In fact, later I'm going to post. You've already posted, but I think they had it up on Sleaze Rock, and there's a link for people who want to go and buy the album. I think that's a good place to go.
Right.
Yeah. So
what happened was how this ties in with you asking me about releasing my material is that. Those guys, I had talked to those guys from the Jaguar, which was my former S.I.N bandmates. I had talked to those guys in decades.
Yeah.
And at an AM show, the keyboard player Vince Gilbert was walking around, and he was talking to some friends that I know. Carlos Cruz from Stonebreed. And,
okay.
But Danny Savage, a bunch of people. Who the hell was there? It was a bunch of people, and I kind of got ambushed into a photo together with Vince.
Yeah,
yeah. Come on, you two guys, get together. Come on, let's get a picture of both. And we're like, okay. And so we took a picture together, a couple of pictures, and that was it. And then I didn't hear from him for a while. Somehow he reached out to me while we were still living in California, and he said, hey, listen, not for nothing, but we're going to be working on re-releasing the Jaguar album, and it's got some S.I.N stuff on it, and would you like to be involved? And I said, well, what does that entail?
Yeah.
I said, I thought it was going to be something. It was going to be S.I.N material.
Yeah.
And I was a little unclear on it at first, but it was the intention was to re-release the Made in Heaven Jaguar album.
Okay. Yeah.
And I said, what do you need from me? I said, I got tons of pictures. He goes, I don't have anything. He goes, I don't even remember half of that stuff. I said, I've got pictures. He goes, that'll work.
Wow.
He said, you want me to write some liner notes?
Wow.
He goes, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be perfect. Yeah. And I said, well, I'm going to warn you up front. Like I said in the liner notes I wrote, you can't tell the story of Jaguar without telling the story of S.I.N.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's fine. He goes, write whatever you want, and like that. And I said, as long as you got your blessing on it.
Wow.
I said, I'm warning you up front. Some of the stuff might bruise some egos and step on a few toes, but that's the story, the way it happened.
Yeah, it's interesting the way things like that happen. I mean, and I think you'd probably agree with this, Rick, but it's good that you and this guy have made up in the sense that could you imagine, Frank Starr, as you just said, passed away, and so there's never going to be a S.I.N reunion. But isn't it great that this guy patched up your differences? Just a great thing, I think.
Well, years back, Vince had done an interview for Full and Blue Music. After my interviews, and he pretty much ripped me a new asshole.
Wow.
On what happened? His version of why I it becomes a he said she said thing.
Exactly.
Like, we fired him, he quit. We fired him, he quit, kind of thing. Then when you got a bunch of guys together in a number, it makes them look a little bit more viable as compared to the one guy who's out on his own. Yeah. So, but I bounced back with the second lineup of S.I.N, and that shut everybody up.
Oh yeah, I mean.
So through this process, I got introduced to Steve from F&A Records.
Wow.
That's who's putting out the Jaguar album.
Okay.
And so now Vince says, get in touch with Steve, and you guys work everything out. I said, all right, fine. So I discussed all this with Steve, and I said, Vince said, okay, on the liner notes and the photos and whatever else. So I essentially wrote, as best as I could, a condensed story of S.I.N.
Yeah.
And how it became Jaguar.
Oh, wow.
And I sent it to him. I said, so let me know what you think. And they signed off on it. They said, this is fine. This is good.
Yeah.
I said, all right, fine. And then I wrote a little bit of story of On the Run in there. And I gave them a bunch of pictures of us, playing various shows. And they're really small. I mean, it's like a 28-page booklet.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, Rick, just the way you archive all your history, because, even people can see it on Facebook, and even prepping for this today, like when I got home, we planned to do this interview today, and you'd email me the thing about, S.I.N being voted, the top metal act for 1984. I guess it was, you said, in Music Connection. I mean, just amazing stuff, all the stuff you have in your files,
Well, I'm my father's son.
Yeah, yeah.
My father was like that. He was a published writer. He was an archivist. He was a heraldic artist, a researcher. So it's in the blood. So that's where I get it from.
Wow. Yeah, and
that. So in talking to Steve, I said, after this whole Jaguar thing is over, there's a possibility of maybe, even Steve brought it up because maybe we can release some of your Sin stuff.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I'm like, now we're talking. Okay, this is starting to be interesting.
Yeah.
I said the only thing is some of the material, the tapes need to be beefed up.
Yeah.
And I would feel better sitting over the shoulder of whoever's doing this and showing them exactly where it needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me to just hand my tape over to a stranger.
Especially, everything you've been through.
I may not like it, or I may have to be there to point out, okay, beef this up, do that over there, do this, because I've been involved in the producing and engineering aspect of it myself.
Yeah, and I'm sure you got that little fear in the back of your mind, after, working with a thieving producer, like, I wouldn't want to just hand over, my only tape to somebody, that might not get it back, or they might make extra copies and give it to somebody.
Well, F&A's got, a known reputation.
Yeah.
They've been out there for a while.
Yeah, that's true. But it's good that you and Vince have kind of patched up your differences. I mean, I remember talking to, you mentioned auditioning for Greg Lee on Invasion like a number of years ago, and he was sharing with me that he used to, him and Kevin DeBro, they just, he hated Kevin's guts like with a passion, and he said, luckily for me and Kevin, he goes, we patched up our differences before he died, and I'm much happier that we got to end things on a friendly note than.
So let me kind of focus this back again.
Yeah.
And after Sin broke up, I was obviously pretty bummed out about it. I didn't go out very much, and trying to figure out what my next move is going to be. So there was a couple of girls I knew that hung around the band Burn.
Okay.
And one of them, I think, was this girl Maureen, she's still a bartender at the Whiskey.
Oh wow, okay.
But her and this girl Sandra. Sandra was like this 16, 17-year-old Ronnie James Dio groupie.
Oh wow.
I mean, not like in a sex way, but
no, I know. Yeah.
She was like the Uber fan.
Yeah. And
she would carry around an 8 by 10 picture of Ronnie in a frame with her everywhere she went.
Oh wow, that's funny.
And they contacted me. They said, "Hey, you want to? We're going to go up to Magic Mountain. We're going to go see Stryper. You want to come?"
Yeah.
And I said, and it was like pouring rain. I'm like, "Yeah, all right. Come on out of the house." So they picked me up, and we were on our way to Magic Mountain. And he said, "We're going to take a detour. We're going to stop here first." And we stopped at the rehearsal studio in North Hollywood called Mates.
Okay.
Mates is where everybody rehearsed. Badlands were there, so I hooked up and said hi again to Greg Chason and Jakey. Jakey and I knew each other from when he was in Rat.
Wow.
Like that, and so everybody was rehearsing at Mates.
Yeah.
So we go into the room where Burn is, and they were auditioning a bass player. And I was like, "Oops, sorry, we're not supposed to be here. We'll walk out."
Yeah.
Like that. And the guys in Burn, like, quick looked at each other and they went, "Hey, Rick, do you mind staying?"
Okay, yeah.
For a minute? You mind staying for a minute? And I'm like, "All right, fine." And everybody else left the room. They said, "Listen, we heard about what happened with Sin, and we feel pretty bad about that. But, Dana produced you guys, he produced us," and I kind of told him briefly what Dana did with the tape and everything. And they said, "Well, we have to replace Bill Sweet, our bassist. Would you be interested?" I said, "Well, we're from the same stable as Strum. He probably did your demo, and he did our demo."
Yeah.
Like that. And plus, I knew the guys in Burn from when I jammed with them as Hellion.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In 82, when I first got to L.A.
Interesting. Okay.
So Burn was essentially Hellion without Anne Boleyn.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. Okay.
I don't know the politics about why she wasn't in the band.
Yeah.
I don't think I really asked, because I was friends with all of them, so I don't want to get in the middle of anything.
Of course, yeah.
So they gave me their demo tape. It's like 5 songs, and I took it home and I learned the songs, and they set up an audition. And I went back to Mates, and then we had with what they call the big room.
Okay.
With all giant mirrors. Some bands would have all these mirrors. You'd set them up so you could see yourself on the stage.
Wow.
These were like on dollies, these huge mirrors. You know, and we went over the set. You know, there's 5 songs.
Okay.
And we had a good time. You know, it was like we were kind of rocking out up there. It wasn't just stand still and play the songs. You know, I mean, I interpret the music physically with the body, kind of, you know, like that. And the way I'm feeling the music come through me. And they dug that.
Wow.
And their drummer was, you know, the drummer thought, again, he thought my jokes were hysterical. We got along. He was real quick on the uptake on my witty stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Like that. He was busted up laughing. So it all looked pretty encouraging. You know, so I went home, and a day or so, I don't know, later, I got a call from Alan Barlam, who's one of the guitar players, and he says, you know, you came in at number 2.
Number 2, thanks. Yeah.
He goes, no, we auditioned a lot of guys.
Yeah.
I said, Alan, I really didn't even need to audition. I said, you know, I've already proven myself out there.
Yeah.
You know, I've sold out clubs.
Yeah.
But, you know, I auditioned just for you know,
for
principle.
Yeah.
And he says, we left the actual decision of who we're going to pick to our drummer.
Okay.
Because he's the guy that's got to be the other half of the rhythm section.
Yeah.
So he says he picked a guy, and he says so like that, and thanks. And I said, all right, whatever, fine. And a couple of days later, Alan calls me back again. He goes, hey, listen, that guy we auditioned that we took. I said, yeah. He says, turns out he auditioned on a loaner bass.
Wow.
He's got no gear, no ride. He's got nothing.
Wow. Okay.
The guy has absolutely nothing. He just knew the songs. He learned them and he played them, and he's got nothing. So you actually got the gig by default.
Wow.
If you still want it.
Yeah. Okay.
I said, oh, so that's how it works, huh?
Yeah.
So now you're calling up number 2.
Yeah. Number 2 is now number 1. Yeah.
Telling them he's number 1.
Yeah.
And I said, I was still no pun intended, I was burned about a lot of other things too on my mind. So I said, all right, give me a couple of days. Let me think about this. And Alan called me like several times over the next couple of days, asking, well, did you decide yet? Did you decide yet?
Yeah.
And I looked at the walls of my apartment. I went, all right, I got nothing else going on. I'd already seen Byrne playing sold out at the country club.
Yeah.
They had Ray Brown making all their costumes, and Ray Brown, you know, did costumes for Dokken and Judas Priest, all the Lita, all the big bands, you know. Yeah. I went, all right. So I started rehearsing with Byrne on a consistent basis.
Okay.
Now, at that point, Byrne was being managed under the Ronnie Dio Niji management banner.
Wow.
There was a guy working out of their office named Kurt Lorraine. So Kurt was the manager, the hands-on manager directly with Byrne, and he answered to Wendy and Ronnie.
Okay, wow.
At this time, Wendy was managing Rough Cut, and and Ronnie loved Byrne as much as Wendy loved Rough Cut.
Yeah.
Ronnie loved Byrne because the singer we had, Richard Perico, he kind of had an image a little bit like Ronnie, and he sounded like Ronnie.
Oh yeah, that would make sense why Ronnie would love him.
Yeah. I was rehearsing with them for a while, and one thing led to another. I didn't sign anything, so it wasn't like I was on paper as an official member, but verbally I was a member.
Yeah.
Like that, and they had some parting of the ways with Kurt.
Okay.
Like that, so it was real iffy if they were going to still remain with DG or not. And while all of that was happening, I got a call from a friend of mine who was the road manager for Loudness.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, and he called me up and he says, "Hey, Loudness they just finished the album. They're coming to the States, and we're going to do a bunch of West Coast dates." He goes, "You want to come to any of the shows?" I said, "Sure." And Cinderella and Poison were opening and flip flopping from middle and open slot.
Wow! Yeah.
Like that, and like it was going to be like. Loudness would headline most of the shows, and then unless they played with somebody bigger, like further into the U.S. So he gave me a couple of laminates, tour laminates.
Uh-huh.
I could go to any city in the United States they were on tour and go hang with them.
Wow.
So I went with them to Bakersfield, and I hung out there. And then I came back to Hollywood. And then they were going to go out to Phoenix.
Wow.
And they were going to play out in Phoenix. So I went and saw them out in Phoenix. And while I was there, I met a local promoter, this guy Brad Laughlin, and looked like a college kid.
Okay.
And he was a local promoter there, and he was friends with the guys in Surgical Steel.
Oh, okay.
So I loaned him one of the laminates so he could kind of walk around with me in the backstage area. And he wandered off into some area where he wasn't supposed to go, and then they came looking for me, and he said, "You know this guy?" I said, "Yeah, what did he do?" And he said, "Well, he's walking in areas where he's not supposed to go.
Okay.
So we'll either take the laminate from him, or you can keep an eye on him." Okay. So he apologized and like that, and he introduces me brings me over to this guy Jimmy Keeler.
Oh wow.
Who was the guitar player for Surgical Steel. And he introduces me to Jimmy, and I'm like, "Hi, how you doing?" Blah blah blah. We didn't get to talk, but it was really loud. The bands were playing. It's hard to hear. It's hard to have a conversation, in a loud place.
Of course, yeah. So
like that, and that was it. It was like 5-10 minute meeting, and hi, how you doing? Small talk, chat, yada yada yada, and nothing significant. And then I get my laminates back, and I go back to Hollywood.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, the very moment I had the key in the lock in the door, and I'm walking into my apartment, the phone's ringing.
Oh wow.
And I let the answer machine start to get it, and I hear it's this guy Brad. And he's like going, Rick, are you there? Pick up the phone, Rick. So I pick up the phone. I said, "What, Brad? I just walked in the door. What?"
Yeah.
Just now from Phoenix. I walked in the door. What? He says, Jimmy wants you to come back. Jimmy wants you to come back. He's doing an album, and he wants you to come play with Surgical Steel.
Wow.
And I said, "Well, I don't know anything about this band." And he goes, "We'll set it up." And I said, "All right, call me back." I said, "I just walked in the door. I didn't even get any sleep yet."
Wow.
Yeah. So I started calling up some people I knew, and I said, "Who the hell is Surgical Steel?"
Yeah.
And they said, "Do you like Judas Priest?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "If you like Priest, you like Surgical Steel. They sound just like Priest."
Okay. Yeah.
Singer sounds like Halford. He looks a little like Halford. He's got the short blonde hair like that. They wear all black leather. I went, "All right, I guess I'll give it a shot." And this is where I feel like I'm starting to join sinking ships.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't know they're sinking.
Yeah.
Because while I was with Byrne, there was a problem with the singer, with Richard. And Richard was a diabetic.
Oh,
and he got kicked out of where he was living, and he needed a place to stay. And so I figured I'll be a nice guy and I'll let him stay at my apartment.
Yeah.
The guys in Byrne went, "Don't do that. He's going to eat you out of house and home."
Oh, wow.
He's famous for that. He's diabetic. He raised your refrigerator.
Oh wow.
And my stepsister was staying there from Florida at the time. I had a huge apartment, and sure enough, he was getting into conflicts with my stepsister and with me.
Oh wow.
And food was disappearing because the guy's craving and he's eating, like that. And they wound up kicking him out of the band.
Wow. Over that.
So now we have to find a new singer. Technically I'm still with Byrne.
Yeah.
And then I contacted Neil Turbin.
Oh, from Anthrax.
This is back when we used to be friends.
Yeah, a guy from Anthrax, yeah.
And I jammed once with Neil, and it sounded okay, like that. And I said, "Hey, this band I'm with, Byrne, the singers, that stuff is in your range." I said, "Well, you want to come down and take a shot at this?" He's like, No, I want to do my own thing. I don't want to do anybody else's stuff.
Okay, yeah.
I said, "All right, fine." That ended that right there.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, I go back to Phoenix, and I walk into, they pick me up from the airport, and they bring me back to Jim Keeler's house. And I said, "All right, so when am I audition?"
Yeah.
And Jimmy called everybody Chief.
Okay.
It's like in LA, everybody called you Dude.
Yeah.
And in Phoenix, Jim Keeler called everybody Chief.
Hey, Chief.
So I go, "Chief,
Yeah.
no, you don't have to audition. You go goes, I heard the Steeler album. He goes, I know you can play. He goes, we're doing an album next week. Here's a tape. Learn the songs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's like that. I mean, didn't even ask me if I want the gig.
He just assumed he did.
He said, he said, yeah, we flew you here.
You're
learn
here.
the songs,
Yeah.
and we're doing an album next week. Just
Wow.
like that.
Wow. Okay. Take charge kind of guy. I like that. You know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Jimmy was a big fish in a little pond,
Okay.
and that's how he liked it.
Yeah.
So I learned the songs. Woodshedding
Yeah.
at his house. This drummer, I met the drummer. I think his name was Paul. I don't remember his last name. We start rehearsing in Jimmy's garage, and this guy's meter is just like all over the place.
Wow.
Nice guy,
Yeah.
really nice guy, but I'm trying to play with this guy, and he's all over the place.
Wow. Yeah.
So I called Jim in, and I said, I'd like you to come in here and listen to us,
Yeah.
and listen to the meter. All right, and so we're playing, and he's listening to the guy, and we're making eye contact. I'm looking at Jimmy. Jimmy's looking at me, and he kind of nods a little bit. Apparently, the drummer had an alcohol problem, and it was affecting his meter.
Oh, wow. Wow. Ah.
So, we had to let that guy go. And he brought in Derek Kendall on vocals, powerhouse singer,
Yeah.
real powerhouse singer. And now we got to get another drummer. So in order to do this in the studio,
You need a
he had
drummer.
to call his other. What Jimmy had done was he had fired the original lineup of Surgical Steel.
Wow.
He did with Surgical Steel what Connor Ronkiel did with Steeler.
Okay. Okay.
He let the whole band go, and he started over from scratch, starting with me
Yeah.
and this other drummer.
Wow. Wow.
So he had to call his old drummer, Bob Mylan, back to come in and record with us in the studio. And Jimmy said, you have some material. You can put some of your songs on this album.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I said, okay. And we were going to do a couple of songs off the S.I.N demo.
Wow.
So we started to record "Don't Say Goodbye," and we were going to do "We Got Your Rock."
Funny. Yeah. Wow.
So we're trying to do "We Got Your Rock," and Bob doesn't know the song.
Okay.
So who comes visiting one night? George Lynch used to live in Phoenix.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he still does. Yeah.
Yeah, he was married at the time. And Mick Brown, his drummer from Dokken, was visiting him.
Okay.
So George and Mick show up at the studio. And we're in El Chiton Studios, right by Camelback Mountain.
Okay.
And we show the song to Mick. And he listens to a couple of passes of it. He goes, okay, and then Vic comes in and sits down on the drums.
Okay. Wow.
So me and Mick record the rhythm tracks for "We Got Your Rock."
Wow. I would love to hear that. Yeah.
Like, it was as if we've been playing the song forever.
Amazing.
That's how good Mick is.
Yeah. And he's such a great drummer. I gotta say, he recently was kind of forced into retirement because all his years of playing, I guess he's got that carpal tunnel and he really kind of beat his hands to death. But
Yeah, I read that, yeah.
Yeah.
So me and Mick recorded "We Got Your Rock,"
Wow.
and the guitar player from Icon, Dan Wexler, is producing.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Okay, so we get done with the song, and that's a cut. I mean, it's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mick gets up from behind the drums, and he goes, "I don't know why people say shit about you. You can't play." He goes, "You're just as good as Jeff."
Oh, thanks, Mick. Yeah.
Meaning like Jeff Pilson.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, wow.
So I took that's a massive compliment.
Sure is. Yeah.
To be recognized finally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. And then so while we're recording the album, Jimmy gets a phone call from the guy who was going to be putting the backing behind doing the album.
Wow.
And he said, my attorney, my accountant advised me against it. So all the financial backing for the album went right down the tubes.
So I'm assuming at that point the album gets shelved and has remained unreleased at this point?
As far as I know, I don't know whatever happened to it. I've asked Derek a couple of times.
Wow.
He said he was going to try and see if he could get it released.
Yeah, and so that was the end of that. So I think that's where we're going to end for this week, Rick, and then we will pick up the story next time when we do this from that point. Okay.
All right.
If you could hold on for just a minute, Rick.
Bye bye.